I just wanted to tell you about a project I'm wanting to start. I collect a lot of this, paperbark, bits and pieces, all kinds of interesting things that I just love playing with, all part of nature. And I'm wanting to do a picture, and this time, it's all experiments for me. Last time I tried it on cardboard. This time I'm using a pre-primed board that you buy just like that, that has the canvas attached to it. And I have used some black gesso as a background. I've just put that on and let it dry and sat with the idea for a little while of what I want to do. Now I think, you know, yes, I do love the natural world. I love landscape, I love trees, but you know, I'm sort of thinking I'd like to try everything on this, and what better subject would there be than, you know, like a Gaia, the goddess, you know, and we could have her, we could have the world she's creating, you know, with the forests and everything. So that's a possibility. It may be too much for me, I don't know, but composition is what I'm going to look at first. So I'm thinking I want it in this format. I'm going to have her face here, maybe looking up, maybe have a world or something. You know, try and figure out how I can balance it so that I'm getting everything that I want into the one picture. So that's what I'm going to do first. And I've got a, you know, a charcoal kind of pencil here. It's a bit blunt, but it'll do. And just rough out something, and we'll see how I go. Now, I freely admit that portraits aren't my best thing. That's why the charcoal-y kind of pencil, because I can rub it out, and because it shows up on this black background. But I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just going to use this statue's face as a basic idea of where I would like things to be, and maybe about this kind of size. And I'm just going to try and get some of the main shapes in there. Yeah, so I'll keep fiddling, make sure I get this kind of thing right, because like I say, it's not my forte, but I can do it, and I will. Well, we've got a kind of an idea to start with. You know, we'll make something on here, you know. Yeah. The reason I wanted the black on here is because, you know, these things are all light coloured. I've tried to get other bits, you know, that have got different shading. See, different tones and things, different colours. But black is particularly hard, you know. So I thought I'll use the black of the background. If I really want something black, then I will leave that colour show. Yeah, so I thought maybe some silhouettes of some trees and just fill in the background, something like that, maybe up here, don't know. Work it out as I go, but you know, I've got a basic starting point. You know, I might just work on her whilst I'm thinking about what I want here. I'll probably perfect, you know, how I think her face. I'm not very good at tilting, you see, that's the thing. Gotta keep working on that angle. She's looking down. Alright, so let's go from there. One more idea. Maybe she's holding this world. She's the personification of nature. She made the world, gave birth to the world, something like that. So maybe she's holding it, like a ball that she's holding. I would like to make, like I said, leaves or her part of the growth, but also, you know, just gazing down on her creation, I'm thinking, something like that. For this next part, I'll be using a mixture of water and PVA glue, which is white craft glue. And I'll mix them together equal parts and use a paintbrush to apply it. Okay, let's just have a look before we get too far. I have this bit here that I put in just to experiment. It's very, very fine. It's almost like one layer. You know, whenever I look at something through the screen, I can actually see my mistakes. It should be more of an angle. Anyway, just wanted to show you what I'm doing here. At the moment I'm cutting because I want these areas to be quite definite. And I'm picking out the light and the dark areas. And just building that up. And then I can layer fine layers on top if I want to blend it or something like that later. But I'm just figuring it out how I want to do things. And, you know, you can still move it around. It's still liquid, not dry, so that's fine. Whilst you're deciding, you know, how you want it. But I wanted to say that I'm doing this with paperbark. It is lovely. It has layers and layers of these fine, beautiful shades. But I suppose that's why I thought I wanted to do a portrait, because it's perfect colouring. But I wanted to do more than that. Now, I've also been collecting all kinds of wonderful things. That's a leaf. You know, sometimes I would look at something like that and say, oh, you're perfect as you are. I'll have you, you know, and then later on I can blend it in with something else. You know, something like that. And so I'm just saying, you don't have to have a paperbark tree. Probably don't. But you can build her up with all different shades like that. I also have a collection of leaves and things, you know, maybe I'd want to use something like that for in the eye, you know. But it's all about looking at different natural things and the shapes and the colours and getting yourself together a little bit of a palette. Even these, and I'll show you that tiny bit, and that little skeleton leaf there. I've got quite a few skeleton leaves, so I just saw that scrap and I thought I would explain that, you know, it is a lot of things. That's shading in itself. If I decided I wanted to shade something, or if I decided I wanted to do some trees in the distance, or maybe some water, I could use something like that. And when you start looking around, you see all sorts. What do I have over here? Okay. Well, that's dried. What's that? Eyebrow, maybe, or, you know, trees, or all different kinds of things. There could be hairs if you were wanting to do an animal. So it's a great artistic challenge, and I'm up for it. I want to have a go, and I hope you're going to be interested to follow along with me. Now there's miles to go here, but I just wanted to point out I did put that leaf here as a background. I'm just putting some really fine layers of this bark that you can actually see through on top to shade it in the areas that I want. What you do as well, probably didn't mention properly, was, you know, just get some stuff on your brush, put it down, put whatever you want on it. Sometimes it's easier to pick it up with the actual wet paintbrush, you know. Pop it where you think you're going to have it, move it around a bit, a little bit on top. Do you know what I mean? And just layer it up, and that's how I'm going to roll. Keep changing things until I get it close. But I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I think this is important, and I know I've got the face shape slightly wrong, but I'm going to work on it. We'll get it right. Right, don't be too horrified by her yet. I'm just getting some basic shapes down. Yeah, so she's a little bit of an eyesore at the moment, but we'll try a little harder. It's like tissue paper, honestly. Sticks to you when it's really fine like that. Let's see how it started separating into layers. I don't mind that either because it shades it in a little bit better. I did try and video before, but it didn't work out. But I wanted to show you these. See these? Wonderful, the shapes that you find when you start pulling things apart like that and really appreciating it for its shape and its colour and its texture. Having a closer look to see what you can do. Okay, so I also need some sort of light here. under her eye. But like that. So it's very forgiving. You can pick bits off. Don't worry about, you know, what's underneath. It's how it ends up. That's the main thing. At some stages you might think you need to stop, and it's alright to put some like cling film, glad wrap, whatever you call it, over it, some plastic of some kind, because the wood glue won't stick to plastic. And then you can put something heavy on top. I have this old iron here that I use. You know, maybe a board on it first, so it distributes the weight a little more evenly. Something like that. Right, sometimes it's just time to step back and have a look. Now, this is probably not the way it is supposed to be done, but it's the way I'm doing it. It's a lot about contrasts. Just nothing is finished here, please don't judge, but can you see I have a contrast there on the side of her face and up against the world she is holding. I've already started doing a little bit of a world thing there. Can you see that there? That is a leaf skeleton. Isn't it glorious? Up the top, that's a leaf. I've broken it into pieces. I have plants. They were dried ferns. They're dry and they've kept green, so they're going in. Great. And I started her fingers holding the world. So, you know, we'll see. But it is fascinating to try, because there is just, you know, you have a limited palette and you're really trying to do everything with just light and dark, you know, different tones. Well, I did leave it overnight, and then I came back and changed it completely again. But I'm thinking that this particular craft is like sculpture and painting and collage and just so many different things. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is make them all on the same tilt, because I had one eye high and all kinds of problems. So I'm still trying to make that right. And I'm also trying to, if this is my source of light, I want light here and light on this side of her face, this side of her nose. I'm just working on her nose at the moment, but it's changing so much with me putting all these dark bits over here. Here I've adjusted where her eyebrows are. It's probably still not quite right. Now this is what I am wanting to show you. None of it really matters. You can just change it. See how I'm pushing that and getting that to go where I want it to go. And if I want this one over a little bit, maybe I'll do that, you know. Maybe I don't want that quite so high. I want that down. And it'll do that because it's not dry. And sometimes I decide I don't want that. Things like this, if you're using paperbark, it'll just, a layer will come off, you know, it'll separate, and you can use whichever colour that you particularly wanted to get it back on. Now another thing is that it can be tricky, bits can stick to your paintbrush and that, but you can just, you know, I've been using this knife a lot, and I just move things around with the point of that. Yeah, so I'm still changing this shape, and I'm building her up, and she's getting better, I think. But you know, I'm putting the work in because I want this to be nice, and the portraits aren't easy for me. I haven't done one in a long time, certainly never with bark. This, you know, with the light, and you know, I'm trying to get it nice, but it also allows me to show you how it's also changeable. And I wanted that under there, for example, I'd just lift it and poke it under like that. So I've still got lots of things in here. Leaves, bark, skeleton leaves there. Still like those because they allow things underneath to come through. So it's like shading. Used a bit of it there to really get that darkness in there. Yeah, so this is obviously bleh. Now that's another thing. If you want to look at something and you're not sure, it's really upsetting you, but you don't know why, one of the tricks is that you can hold your hand over the bit. You know, is it that side of the face okay? No. Is that side? Yeah, it's better. You know, do I like just, would it be better without that eyes? That's what's disturbing me. So you can block that out because your brain just wants to see the whole thing as a mass, and it's easier sometimes to just be able to focus on one thing, but you're distracted. So I'm just saying that's a neat trick. So I'll just work away and she'll change and change and change, but I'm quite determined that I want her to be nice. When I do want it to dry properly, I will put the plastic wrap on it again, and I will weight it down and just let it dry for a few days, and then take the plastic wrap off and let it dry further. Have a look at that. Can you see that I can use these little fine layers if I wanted? But you'll find that in a lot of things. I've found them in seed pods, and you know, what about garlic and onion skins and things? You know, it's just finding those things. You know, where do I want a bit of light? Maybe that eyebrow's too high, you know. I'll pop that in there. Don't want that edge poking up, I'll just do that. And if it wants to come away with your brush, just do that. Hold it down with the little scalpel. Yeah. So I think that's given you enough little clues as to how this is done and what you can play with. I'm going to continue. You know, she'll keep changing. And you know, when I do have her the way I want her, I'm going to create all of the background. So I might make a part 2 of this little video to show you that. But let's try and get her sorted. In the meantime, I've added some lovely flowers, some dried pressed flowers that I had, some leaves, that lovely burgundy colour leaf, some nice orange ones as well are in there, some seed pods, just a huge variety. That will be sort of her hair, I think, a mixture of flowers. So I'm really getting distracted, but also it'll take some time to get that face right, I think. Let's just have a look at how much she's changed. And what I found is this lovely plant that I had previously pressed, and it's called a blue jade vine. Now let's just have a look at it. It is spectacular. I've used it in her eyes and then again up in her hair. So here she is. This is Gaia. She is the Greek goddess of earth, the mother of all life. And it seems fitting that we've tried to do her from purely natural materials. I really do hope you've enjoyed this video. My name's Tracy from Art Fiber Stitch. If you've liked it, please press like and subscribe to my channel. All my other details are below. And once again, thanks for watching.